For the past few weeks, I've been sinking my teeth into the latest entry in the Assassin's Creed series, and I've been quite surprised with just how much I've been enjoying it. In comparison to Odyssey, which to me felt like a departure from what Assassin's Creed is all about, Valhalla is a breath of fresh air and even feels like a somewhat return to form for the series. It's as if Ubisoft has finally been able to strike a balance between the RPG style the series has taken with the past two titles and what we all loved about the games that came before them. I've been wanting to talk about Valhalla for a while, and I feel I'm not literate enough to be able to write a proper review, so today I'll be talking about 10 things I love and hate about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to leave a like, and if you agree or disagree or feel like I missed something, then be sure to let me know in the comment section. Either way, I'll just be glad to talk about the game. To kick things off on a high note, we'll start with the things I love about the game, beginning with EIVOR. Of course, you can choose to play as female or male EIVOR at the start of the game. I chose the latter, as you can see, and haven't looked back. I honestly have zero interest in even seeing the differences between the two, because right away I came to like the option I went with. As far as Vikings go, I'd say he's definitely on the softer, more empathetic side, as throughout the game you can see that he doesn't really discriminate against anyone who isn't Viking, and is willing to help pretty much anyone he comes across and can see both sides of any situation. I think what I like most about EIVOR is that he is quick-witted with a sharp tongue and will be quicker to use his words before he has to resort to any form of violence, but he is still a Viking at heart, and you will see that side of him at various points throughout the game.
Watch your tongue, wolf-kissed, or you'll find it freed of your face!
So easily wounded by words. Imagine the ruin my axe would inflict on your flaccid ego.
My flaccid what? Please stop this!
You heard me.
On to the second thing I love about the game is exploring the world and its side quest. I say side quest in air quotes, but I'll get to that in just a second, but there's something about exploring in Valhalla. In open world games, I'm usually not one to want to explore every single nook and cranny the map has to offer, but in Valhalla, I just haven't been able to stop. Whenever I enter a new area of the map, I immediately take to going around to all the different markers on the map to see what I can find, and the game encourages you to do so, as it's how you find new gear and abilities in the game. As for the side quests I mentioned earlier, they aren't really your traditional side quests. Instead, they are small world events that they're called in game, and can have a variety of different things to do. For example, I came across this dead body that seemingly had a spirit still lingering in the world asking for money so they could finally depart, only to find a way around to see it's this guy scamming people for their money, or this killer nun who is apparently tasked by God to rid England of heathens, or sometimes could just be a glitch in the animus you have to try and fix as Layla. What I love about them is that at least so far none of them have felt too repetitive, and they are bite-sized, meaning that they never take more than probably 5 minutes to complete. And it's yet another reward for exploration, as it's through these where EIVOR's character really shows. Now let me talk about ORLOG, my third love for the game. Typically I avoid minigame type things, but ORLOG had me hooked straight away. It's a strategy dice game where you and your opponents take 3 turns to roll dice, and from each roll choose which ones to bring forward in order to attack or defend yourself from whatever your opponent has chosen, with the ultimate goal to get rid of your opponent's stones or health, if you will. But what makes ORLOG more interesting are the god favors you can use. Named after Norse gods, you have these carvings that by collecting tokens, you can take advantage of their different powers, like using Force Strike to deal massive damage to your opponent based on how many tokens you have available. There are plenty of other god favors which add to the strategy and can dramatically shift how any game is going, and defeating new ORLOG opponents awards you with one of the god favors they were using to add to your collection, so you have more options for your next game. ORLOG is something I'm always happy to see when I enter a new location, and I've heard that they're apparently making it into a real life game, so I'll definitely have to pick that up. Try ORLOG, you'll love it. Playing as a Viking, combat is as brutal as you would expect, and I love it. But what I love even more is the sheer variety of weapons you have at your disposal and how you can use them. You can choose from one-handed axes, daggers, hammers, flails, spears, great swords, two-handed Dane axes, all of which can be dual-wielded, which is what I prefer, but there are so many combinations to which 2 weapons to use together and how they fit with your playstyle. If you want to play on the more defensive side, use a shield with a one-handed weapon. Want to have more range? Use 2 spears, or if you really feel like it, then why not use 2 shields together? All of these different options make it fun to experiment with, and you'll probably find yourself trying out new combinations all the time. One more thing is that unlike Origins and Odyssey, you aren't constantly being bombarded with new weapons every 5 minutes, so if you find a weapon you like, then you can use it throughout the entire game by simply upgrading it. While EIVOR is not technically an assassin, he is working alongside them in order to take down the Order of Ancients in England, and in doing so has brought back many of the things we love from previous previous games in the series. The leap of faith returns in all of its glory, assassinating with the hidden blade, actually being able to assassinate any enemy regardless of their health pool or level. Social stealth also makes a return, such as being able to hide on benches, sit at tables with others, or even blending in with crowds. Post-assassination cutscenes return after killing targets, and all other small things we came to love from actually being an assassin. I'm glad they included these features once again, as after playing through Odyssey I couldn't have felt any further away from the title Assassin's Creed. Now to start things off for the things I hate in the game, the healing system. Rather than a typical regenerating health bar used in most games, Valhalla has instead gone the complete opposite direction, opting for no regeneration, and the main thing I hate is the way in which you have to heal yourself. In order to do so, you need to scavenge for berries and other food you can find around the world in order to fill up your rations, which you can then use to heal yourself. Although you are roaming around the map a lot, it always feels like a tedious task to look for food instead of exploring the world at hand, and you need to make sure you're stocked up in case you come across stronger enemies like the zealots that roam the map. Otherwise, a lot of the time you'll be looking at this. What the hell is going on here? I'm not sure who designed the skill tree, but this is not it, chief. Not only is it a complete mess, but in an RPG game you would think you could take a look at the skills ahead of time and start investing your skill points to new skills that fit your playstyle, right? Wrong. For some reason, Ubisoft decided to make a skill tree where you can actually not see anything. In order to find new skills, you just have to blindly invest in any direction to uncover a new cluster of passive buffs and one new skill for your character. It's awfully designed and makes you wonder what on earth they were thinking when they made this. Odin's sight is another feature that I find myself getting more and more irritated with as I make my way through the game. Unlike in Origins and Odyssey where you could use your bird to tag enemies to make it easier to navigate and stealth around bigger areas, Valhalla has removed that feature and replaced it with Odin's sight, which is an AoE pulse that with a relatively small radius that will highlight enemies and other collectibles for a short amount of time. The issue is that when infiltrating larger outposts, you will have to keep constantly spamming this to be able to see where enemies are, and leads you to sitting still a lot if you want to avoid encounters. Even in the middle of fights when raiding with other allies, I find myself having to use this constantly just to see who is an ally or enemy. I can understand why they made this change, but it could definitely use some work. Upgrading your settlement is one of the key goals in Valhalla. While I don't hate upgrading the settlement, in fact I quite enjoy seeing the new builds, what I hate is just how long it takes for these upgrades to come around. At the time of making this video, I'm 60 hours into the game and I still don't have everything. This is because in order to obtain materials needed for the settlement, you need to go on raids with your crew, and each raid will only give you so many resources, meaning that you will only be able to upgrade 1 or 2 things at a time, making it feel like it takes an eternity to upgrade your settlement and potentially missing out on certain features for hours on end depending on what you decided to upgrade first. To finish off the list of things I hate, the modern day story. Honestly, what is happening with this? I have literally no idea what is going on with the modern day story, and I quite simply just don't care enough to look into it. We're back in the shoes of Layla Hassan, who I could also not care less for. You would think that this being the third game you play as her in, I would have some form of attachment, but it's just not the case. In order to really get any understanding of what's happening in the modern day story means you have to dedicate a good chunk of your time to scrolling through Layla's laptop for looks at cryptic emails and audio files. Other characters return, such as Rebecca and Sean, but they're almost unrecognizable, especially Sean. Like, who even is this man? Honestly, any time out of the Animus feels like a waste of time in my eyes, and I feel like the series would just benefit from dropping the modern day story entirely, as to me it's all just convoluted nonsense, but that's just my 2 cents. So there's 10 things I love and hate about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Despite my nitpicks, I'm having a blast with the game, and it's probably my favorite of the new style they've taken from Origins onward. As I said at the start of the video, if you agree or disagree with anything I've said in the video, then be sure to let me know in the comments, and let me know if you'd like to see me make more videos like this, as I do play a lot more games outside of what you see on the channel that I would happily discuss. Thanks so much for watching. Until the next video, I've been Ethan, also known as Ragnarocked, and I will see you then.